Noetic.org says the first well-known mention of twin flames or twin souls comes from Plato 2,500 years ago in the Symposium. Plato presents a theory of the original humans having two sets of every body part and organ, 4 arms, 4 legs, etc. Plato mentioned how these humans were then split into two, forever destined to look for their other half. Aristotle said, love is composed of a single soul inhabiting two bodies. Plato said, and when one of them meets his other half, the actual half of himself, the pair are lost in an amazement of love and friendship and intimacy, and one will not be out of the other's sight, even for a moment. An article by Sean Bradley on Vice.com titled Inside the Toxic World of Twin Flame Spirituality reads, within certain online spirituality circles, there is no higher form of love than a twin flame. For the uninitiated, this is a little like a soulmate, but so much more intense. The type of love you'd read about in One Direction / fiction or any other media rooted entirely in make-believe. While the concept has existed for decades, the number of Google searches for twin flames has exploded over the last few months. Celebrities like Megan Fox and Alicia Keys have talked about it. YouTubers have gushed over what the terms mean. And on TikTok, where the largest demographic of women is aged 18 to 24, it's obviously massive. One theory linked to twin flames is that there are 144,000 humans capable of finding their true twin flame. Others believe the 144,000 number refers to memory complexes containing thousands of souls. But 144,000 is significantly fewer than the 7.7 billion people on the planet. So how do those in the community explain this? Again, there's no unified front. Many use the number to push the rhetoric that reaching union is rare and only attainable for the most spiritually developed people. The number 144,000 has its roots in the Book of Revelation, and Jehovah's Witnesses believe that exactly this amount of people will ascend to heaven as immortal spirit beings. Complicating the issue more is that twin flame relationships aren't always reciprocal. Some people can't handle the intensity of a twin flame connection, and these runners, often men, drift away, while the chasers, usually women, are left wondering why their flame abandoned them. People never properly connect to start with, in some cases, like in 2014 when Ryan Gosling was granted a temporary restraining order against a woman who reportedly harassed and stalked the actor because she was convinced he was her true flame. One of the most prominent twin flame coaches is a couple tag team from Michigan, who call themselves Jeff and Shalea Ayan. The pair have released hundreds of online videos over the last 5 years, discussing spiritual wellness and self-love. In the videos, they gush about harmonious union and how twin flames have been designed for you by God. They encourage relentless commitment to your twin. What if your twin flame is with another? Don't worry, it's a sham 3-dimensional marriage. Your twin flame is already yours, so claim them, Shalea tells her viewers. It is the circle that Jeff and Shalea Ayan run that is the focus of today's episode, with our guest Cara speaking about her experiences inside the twin flame universe. But before we get to that, I wanted to share with you all some important news about August being International Cult Awareness Month. You can support these efforts by raising awareness, sharing the links in the episode description, buying a fundraising t-shirt and more. Taken from internationalcultawareness.org. International Cult Awareness Month is when communities come together to highlight the dangers and realities of cultic practice. We hope to provide support for those affected. Every August, ICAM aims to educate the public about cults and their harmful practices. The Freedom Train Project Incorporated established the ICAM in 2022. The Freedom Train Project is an organization that educates and provides victim services to victims of cults and coercive control. ICAM has quickly become a significant event in many communities worldwide. Over the course of the month's 31 days, we present a rich array of events and resources. This site supports those affected by cults and those wishing to learn more about the dangers they present. International Cult Awareness Month's ultimate goal is to raise awareness of cults' pervasive and insidious nature and give hope to those affected. It is a message to those entangled in these harmful practices that they are not alone. that support is available and that they have the strength to reclaim their lives. Thanks to Tabitha Chapman, a former member of NXIVM, for putting all of this hard work together, raising awareness of the dangers of cults and coercive control. On the website, internationalcultawareness.org, you can look through what to expect over the 31 days of August, with week 1 being dedicated to understanding cults and coercive control. Again, I'll post the link in the episode description so you can find out ways to help spread the word. And one last thing before we get started, a massive hello and welcome to Barb, newest patron and supporter of the show. With over 50 patrons supporting the podcast, I am eternally grateful for each one of you in helping me make this work possible. Now, without further ado, here is Cara. So hello, Cara, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to come and chat with me today about your experiences with a subject that hasn't been explored on the podcast so far. Would you like to start by introducing yourself to the listeners?
Sure. So my name is Cara Brodsky. I am originally from Ithaca, New York, and I'm 34, about to be 35, and I was in a cult.
We mentioned before hitting the record button that it may have been predestined for you to end up in some type of cult.
Yeah, I mean, the area I grew up in and the kind of parents I've had, I'm not really surprised that I got into more than one cult. So, but I was exposed to a lot of religions and different cults, so I guess I'm pretty well versed with what goes on in the world, I suppose.
And you mentioned also living quite close to the NXIVM headquarters as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was about 2 hours away from me, and just it's like, whoa, really hits home of like, what if that could have been me? Like, what if I got involved somehow? But luckily it's closed, so thank God.
And the other thing to mention as well is that you worked in a Waldorf school.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like a teacher or anything like that. I did like, like cleaning and stuff like that, but I learned the ins and outs of what that school's kind of about and just how it's like different than like a regular public school. So it was just very interesting being there, and I'm kind of glad I quit working there.
What, do you remember any of the things you would see or hear that would make you think it was a bit of a strange setup?
There was no TVs there. Um, I noticed that, well, the kids would be outside a lot, and I just thought like a lot of it was very based on like being in nature a lot. I didn't really see a lot of teaching going on. I mean, they're doing math and writing, but I just thought the probably biggest thing I thought was interesting is like they have very weird celebrations, and I was like, what's I think they did a celebration for like fairies or something, or like some gnome type thing. And then they would do like very interesting plays. And what they would do in like gym class was like a rhythmic kind of like stuff with ribbons and dances. And like, I just thought that was very interesting. It's like, I don't remember doing that in gym class.
I made sure to have a little look at the kind of idea around the Waldorf schools before we hit record. And the Waldorf schools are based on the teachings of Rudolf Steiner and his concept around anthroposophy, which is the premise that the human intellect has the ability to contact spiritual worlds. So definitely not conventional education in the way that we might have experienced it. And as you also mentioned, you wonder how that might translate into typical everyday life in professional working environments outside of anthroposophy. And that reminded me of the troubled teen industry and how those qualifications that people leave with often don't include a GED or high school equivalent education. And so people find themselves resitting things in their 20s that they should have had access to earlier in life. So that's the Waldorf schools for anybody that's interested. So we're going to be talking today about twin flames. This is not something that we've covered on the show before. not something that I know too much about myself. So, what do you know of the history of twin flames, or what was your understanding of it when you first came across the concept?
So when I first came across the concept, it was through like some like abuse recovery program, and and the woman on her podcast, it was Melanie Tanya Evans. She has a podcast of like old podcast recordings, and she mentioned something about how she wanted to stay with an ex-husband that was abusive, and she mentioned him being a twin flame, and that's why she stayed a lot longer in the abusive relationship than she should have. And I was like, what is this concept? So I Googled it, and a lot of spiritual stuff comes up where they say it's more than a soulmate. It's like you're half of your soul in another body. And it's like, is that really possible? I mean, I guess you can have like someone that has a lot in common with you, like maybe similar trauma or things, interests or whatever. But I just thought it was very weird. And they even said that your twin flame could be way older than you, way younger than you. They might have died. They might not be born yet. And just like so then I think Teal Swan mentioned it before. So I saw that again in her videos. I never, did any of her programs or anything. So then when I got into this Twin Flame Universe cult on a Facebook forum, it was there again of saying, well, this twin flame concept or your twin flame is like the person you're meant to be with and no one else matters, like you only have one. And so this person is supposed to like complete you in a way that no one else can, and you're supposed to be in love with them and stay with them forever. And it's just, I mean, they could be abusive, they could not be, they could be a predator, they could be someone older, younger, and I think it's just like a way of saying like, okay, well, this person may not be, healthy or whatever, but you got to stay with them because it's your twin flame and it's your other half of your soul. So, so.
So when you say that you're supposed to love this person, is this an intimate, romantic kind of love?
Yeah, like, I think when Jeff and Shalia were talking about it, I think like at first it might not be, and then it eventually is, and then they talk about, I remember Jeff was talking about specifically about how great the sex is and how great the, maybe the friendship is. And it almost kind of made it seem like you're just stuck with this person and isolated with them and they're supposed to like meet all your needs. And I just thought, well, I mean, other people can meet your needs, not just this one person. So I just thought maybe it's like a way of setting you up for getting abused by someone controlling or something like that.
You were asking questions when people were coming to you with these kind of new, strange ideas, and having doubts, having questions, which is healthy. And of course, is something that we all encourage in this space. But something has happened at some point for you to stop having those doubts and those questions.
Yeah, you mean as far as like if the twin flame concept is real or not, or
Yeah, and what the leaders are trying to sell you, you find yourself buying into.
well, I mean, they convince you that there's this one person that's meant for you, and it's like, I mean, people date people, people go on many dates with people and have multiple relationships with people, and it's like, why is it just this one person? I mean, it would be nice if it's just that one person and then that's it, but yeah, I mean, the thing that started happening was like they're trying to help you find your twin flame, and they assign you who your twin flame is, or they just enforce who your twin flame was. And then they started like getting you to like work for them. And it's like, wait, I thought you were supposed to help me with my trauma and with my relationship issues to meet the one, and then you're having me work for you to recruit people into this group and to sell your book. So it's like, well, but I thought you're here to help me, not the other way around.
Right. So before we jump into your experiences in the twin flame movement, as this is something that you have found later on in your life, as opposed to something that you've been born and raised into. I wondered if you could just talk us through what your life was like as a child, what your experiences were growing up, and the place you found yourself in when you first came across the idea of twin flames.
Sure. So to start with my childhood, it was pretty rough. My parents divorced when I was 6. I think my mom has a personality disorder, and I think my dad has like some rage disorder. I mean, they both grew up with very violent fathers. So I never got hit or anything like that, but supposedly my dad said we did, but I don't really remember that. A lot of lying, a lot of chaos, a lot of stuff going on with that. My parents wouldn't really work, so I grew up pretty poor. But we got a lot of help from grandparents and stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty toxic, a lot of fighting going on. And then I was pretty neglected by both parents because, when parents are fighting so much, they neglect the children and they don't get properly fed. And then I also grew up with the second oldest out of 5 kids, and I had 2 brothers that were Gemini twins, actually, and they were twins, and they had a terminal disease. So we had to deal with that, and we were poor. So we had to deal with that, and then we also were exposed on TV for my brother's diseases. My brother's disease. Um, they were Eric and Aaron, so they both were fraternal twins, and they had muscular dystrophy, and they had a Jerry Lewis telethon like in the 90s, and I think they stopped doing that a few years ago or so. And so I grew up with sick brothers. I grew up with chaotic parents that didn't really know what they're doing. And then school wasn't the greatest. I struggled in school, but then I would be okay. And so it was just kind of all over the place. And then what led me up to being in the Twin Flame group? I mean, I didn't know anything about Twin Flame stuff or spiritual stuff until, maybe 5, 6 years ago. Like stuff with crystals and healing and all of that. I mean, a lot of it, I don't think it even really works. But so the point in my life where I entered into the Twin Flame universe, I was kind of struggling financially, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. It'd be nice to meet somebody, but dating's always been hard, especially in New York. So yeah, I was just kind of struggling. I just needed support, and I didn't really have that for my family. So I just kind of was like throw myself into forums, just talk to people and try to get healing, because therapy costs a lot of money, so I wasn't able to pay for that. At least I didn't know at the time. So instead of going to therapy, I decided to get into groups where they promise to help you. And there's a lot of life coaches that promise to help you with your trauma, and they're only a life coach. They're not really getting the clinical training they need to properly help you with trauma. So not that they can't help you at all, it's just they're not really trained that much. So that's how I got into the Twin Flame thing. And then I was involved with an older man, and that's another thing with the Twin Flame thing. The person that is a Twin Flame could be married as well, and you continue to pursue them even if something happens on his or her end, of like maybe their spouse finds out, or maybe there's a restraining order in place. You still got to see him anyway.
Well, when I was researching the history of twin flames, the definition that I found on Medical News Today said twin flames, also called mirror souls, are terms used to describe a relationship ideology rooted in New Age spiritualism. The concept has seen increased popularity in recent times. It promotes the idea of an intense soul connection between 2 people thought to be each other's half. So as you said, the other half of your soul, the other part of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read the term New Age spiritualism, I was thinking, I wonder if there are direct influences from things that I've covered on the podcast before. So when I was looking up some videos about the New Age spiritualism within Twin Flames, I found some videos by cult expert Joe Zimhart. So I watched one of those, and he was talking about the influences from the Rosicrucian age. And that's kind of like Joe's jam. That's like his specialty. That's his expertise, all coming in around the Rosicrucians. And what was interesting about his video on that, which I'll link in the episode description, was the propaganda that he was able to read from the esoteric teachings of Rosicrucians around chemical marriages, which is essentially exactly the same thing. It's just been rebranded and repurposed for today's age. So I just thought that that was an interesting thing to tie those two together. What's problematic about, well, lots of the things you've said sound problematic, especially around age difference, marriage, restraining orders. But you were in abuse recovery forums, and that's where you were approached by somebody who brought this concept to you. There must be a lot of individuals in these spaces who are at particularly vulnerable points in their lives. So it's kind of worrying that that's how a person would be introduced to a concept like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, she just mentioned it and just how, like, what, what made her stay in the relationship. But then I kind of heard things about how she actually does get a little abusive to people actually in the group, or just she charges a lot of money for her services. She's not even trained in anything. Melanie Tanya Evans, she just talks about 2 bad marriages that she had. And I would think if you're like a narcissistic abuse expert, I thought, maybe you would have a lot of relationships under your belt, or it's just 2. And just, I just thought it was just interesting that she just said it, and that's what made her stay longer, was because of this concept that she learned from, I mean, I think they said in Australia it's pretty spiritual out there, so maybe, she heard it from someone else and just was like, oh, I'll just stay in this marriage because I went to a psychic and they told me it's my twin flame, something like that. So
This person that you've met in this Facebook group, is this one of the founders and leaders of Twin Flames, or somebody that's a part of the program and is encouraging other people to get involved?
So when somebody sent me a random friend request, it wasn't a specific person, just the Twin Flame Universe was sending me requests. It's been a while, but I think it was Twin Flame Universe was sending me an invitation to go in the forum, and I first got approached by Brianne Price, and she's still in it. And she quickly just, like, as soon as you enter the forum, I was getting tons of video calls of, so Brianne Price, she was actually, I think she was already a certified life coach already for the cult. And, Jeff pushes the life coaches to sell the book and to get I think you get a few free life coaching sessions, and the people doing them are really scared themselves, and they're just being pushed to do it and to sell. So then after you get, so they're trying to push you to buy the book, then they push you to do, so you get the free sessions. I think it was 5, and then after that you pay money for the coaching sessions, and I think they do it like 111, 222, 333, so it was like $111, and then I think if you go up, I'm not sure what it's up to now, it might be like 333, so it's like $333 for the lower, just like the sessions. And you also get 2 days a week, you get like live video sessions with them, with a group. And mostly everybody in there just overshares. Everyone's very traumatized from their childhood, and then they're throwing in who they think their twin flame is. And some of Jeff and Shalia's main people would enter. Fabian, I think he's German, he would enter randomly. And he had a lot of rage. He didn't go off on anybody, but you could just tell he just kind of moves erratically and he has like some anger and stuff. Then I think there was another woman that came in, but Brienne Price is one of the main life coaches that's been in for a while. She's not planning on leaving, I don't think. I don't think. And then Fabian, and then Deanna would do intake of, like, say I did decide I wanted to pay for the coaching sessions, and Deanna did an intake. I think you pay through PayPal too, so.
So you are sent a friend request from the Twin Flames universe, which is the official name of the movement that we're talking about today. And you are put in touch with, you're in contact with Brienne Price.
Yeah.
So do you and then you start having video communications with her. She starts calling you and talking to you about, I mean, how does she pitch it to you? Does she just say, what are you looking for in life? And then says to you, well, actually, we can give you those things. With Scientology personality tests, they're looking for your flaw. They're looking for your ruin. And once they find that ruin, you know, I wish that I earned more money. I wish that my marriage was happier. I wish that my boss respected me more. Whatever it is, once Scientology have that ruin, they can then propose to you a program that will get you those things and, you know, essentially make your life better. So is that sort of the approach that's taken here, would you say, or is it different?
It was kind of like she was very childlike, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to buy the book? Do you want sessions?" Like, just very childlike,
Okay.
just right out the gate. And then I was just like, I think at the time I was just like, I think I said I just wanted to meet like-minded people and just like, I don't know, spiritual or very intuitive people like myself. And I would talk to people and just I don't know, she seemed kind of happy and cheerful, and I was just like, oh, it's like you want to video call me. And I had other people do it too. It was a guy named Chad, and I think he later changed his name, which is very odd. And I actually eventually saw him in person. I could tell you that a little bit later, but yeah, it was just right out, just direct,
These
just
are
right out the gate.
all other people involved in the Twin Flames universe. These are all people that are trying to video call you.
Yep. There was a few other people that were doing it too. I can't remember offhand. But Brienne was the one that originally contacted me, and then I started talking to other people, and you know what they thought of Jeff, and then I would get random people messaging me, like asking me what they should do in the cult. So, it was just, that happens a lot, even in person. I'm very approachable, so everybody tells me everything, and I just thought it was just like everyone's very clingy and desperate in there too. So, and Jeff kind of goes off on all the followers. So, I mean, I learned that later, but I just felt like everyone's very scared for some reason.
So the Twin Flames Facebook account that adds you as a friend, is this a profile, or is this a group that you're invited to join?
It was a group that you're invited to join. So they have a forum
Okay.
on Facebook you could join. Yeah.
And this is how everybody is sorry, this is how everybody is introduced to you and then able to try and video call you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could call me outside of it. I mean, unless I add them as a friend or they message me
Right.
and do a video call that way. So the only way that I got the videos was just like immediately right when I joined the group. So I was in other spiritual groups online of like thinking I have psychic abilities, and I'm extremely intuitive to the point where it actually kind of scares people. So I was just like, you know, maybe I do have abilities, or maybe I just have heightened intuition. So I was already in other groups, and somehow I just got this random request. So maybe I was just like they found my name, and then they just send multiple requests to like anybody and everybody. And that's what they did eventually. They would have you help recruit. So.
Okay. So what are your first impressions? You're added into this group. Do you get a lot of people starting to contact you immediately, or do you put a post out saying, hi, I'm Cara, this is who I am, this is what I'm hoping to find help with?
At first everyone initiated contact with me, and then eventually started posting things, and then I'll get a lot of people following me on that, or but then, when I join the group, I mean, obviously people know who I am because I'm in the video calls twice a week, so people know my name more. But then I wanted to leave, and they kind of chased me online, so I was trying to get out of it and back out because I thought this was like, what is going on? Everyone's very desperate here. I don't know what I got myself into. So then I wanted out. And because Brianne Price went off on me like randomly with her, she kind of went off on me like my mother does. My mom's very disordered and very abused as a child, so I kind of thought she did a little bit of that with me, like just kind of went off on me randomly, and I wanted out. And then I was going on Kiora posting how bad the cult was, and then Deanna, Fabian, and Brianne Price were like, come back, don't say that, stop what you're saying, stop that. And I was like a little scared of like, whoa. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should go back. Like maybe I did something wrong. So then I did. And then I continued to stay for like almost another year or so.
Wow, this is so interesting. I know that the Teal Swan support groups operate primarily online, so it feels very akin to that, as you've already said. You join the group, you start posting things, it gets a little bit overwhelming, so you try and back out. But at this point, you've had Brianne's already called you, you've had a few other people, Chad calling you, trying to sell you books and courses. So this is the book by one of the founders, Jeff Devine. Is that right? The Twin Flames book by Jeff Devine.
Yep, it's not his real name, but that's his so-called Twin Flames spiritual god name.
Jeff Devine, Twin Flames, Finding Your Ultimate Lover. And he is married to the other co-founder, Shalaya Devine.
And that's not her real name either. So they go
They've
under
been
aliases.
they've been known by other names, such as Shalaya and Jeff Ion or Aon.
Mm-hmm.
And they've also been known as Ender Ayenathos and Megan Plant. They're two other names that people might have heard these two people go by. So once you do you buy the book? But you mentioned that you do go on to do some of the courses. How much do they cost, and how long do they last for?
So, well, it's a monthly subscription. So with the book, it's a one-time thing. So I bought that and then I read that, and it was just basically about how Jeff and Shalia met, which was, I think it was online, and he was a vegetarian living in Hawaii and had his own bed and breakfast or something like that. And then Shalia was like living with a roommate working at a hair salon, and she like barely had any money and was like overweight and did tarot cards. So they met through like her doing tarot cards with him, and then she left where she lived to go live with him. And he originally said he didn't like her at first, and then they learned to like each other, and then he was going to try to get back with another ex, and just it was like a whole mess. So it's just basically about how they got together and how their relationship transpired. And I just thought it was like, so where am I going to learn where I'm going to find the ultimate lover? Like, I don't really remember anything other than how they met.
Are you told that you'll be able to complete these courses more successfully if you've read the book?
I mean, Jeff and Shalia, I mean, I don't know. I came across someone else that kind of did something similar to this. Like, they need to tell everybody how they met. And it's just like, okay, but it's just a relationship. Like, you're not a celebrity or anything. I mean, Jeff and Shalia are a little different, but I just thought it was weird where, like, okay, why do you need to tell the whole world how you met? Like, okay, everyone meets somehow. Like, okay, maybe it was just interesting circumstances, but then it's not like you didn't even want to be with her anyway. So as far as the book, I didn't have to buy the book. They just pushed for it. And then for the sessions, it was just $111 a month. But then they also had, that was just the coaching, that was just like the group sessions with the life coach for, I think it was like 2 hours a night or something like that. And so then that was 2 days a week. And then there was another thing you could purchase where it's called the Ascension. What was it? Like it, or no, Life Purpose. So then they can help you figure out what you're supposed to do for your career. So they help you find your lover, forever lover, or, you know, partner or whatever. Then they'll also help you with like what you need to do as far as a career. And some of the stuff that Jeff and Shaleia would suggest are like, you're probably not going to make very much money doing that, but do it anyway. Because this is your twin flame, which is what you're destined to do. And Jeff and Shaleia, Jeff especially, would change things on you. So like he told some girl that was making pretty good money to quit her job. And so he'd be like, you need to quit your job. The person you're with is not your twin flame, so break up with your partner, sell your house, do all this stuff. Keely Griffin, I think is her name. She's been speaking out quite a bit about the cult, and a lot of people are saying she's abusive or whatever, but maybe it's just she's just been abused. But I saw one time in the forum through words on the screen of Jeff yelling at Keely to quit her job and to like move across country to go live with her twin flame, which I guess she said it didn't work out. And I think Jeff and Shaleia and people in the group will kind of give you money if you do that. So she basically had to live in a dumpy room with some guy that is her twin flame, and so it was really wacky.
In this Facebook group, Jeff and Shaleia are there, and they are interacting with members, and they are part of these weekly video chats that you're having.
So the other thing was, okay, so there's the book, there's the 2 days a week with a life coach. So there could be a lot of people in the group. Then you watch videos of Jeff and Shaleia, of videos from like a long time ago, I think leading up to present. Then there's also the life purpose thing. So it's just all these things that you need to purchase. So when you pay the $111 a month, I think at the time is what I paid, you get to watch these classes. And I was kind of scared to watch them. When I watched them, it was like, so you're watching Jeff and Shaleia talk to other people, like as a group. So Brianne Price was in there, Fabian, a bunch of other people. So I can remember things like Jeff is like literally sitting there and playing video games while Shaleia's talking about talking to an angel. Like it's just like all over the place, bunch of clowns. Then they have a dog coming in, they're petting the dog. Then Jeff and Shaleia will, and you can even see their housing situation changes. You can see it kind of looks kind of dumpy, almost like kind of like, I think they have a housekeeper and everything, but then Shaleia would kind of give it away of like they're kind of poor, but they have a housekeeper, and I just don't understand that. I guess supposedly Jeff went to school for business, and then she went to school for psychology, and then she got into spiritual stuff, so they're combining like this business together. But I think Jeff kind of comes from rich parents. I'm not quite sure. So I just thought it was weird where like you could see it kind of looks like they're kind of living not in the best situation. You don't see holes in the walls or anything like that. And then you could see like, whoa, they're like in this big grand house, and then they're posting pictures of like a luxury sports car, and it's like, we're paying for that. So I mean, everyone's got to make money, I understand that, but in the videos you can, Jeff is like going off on people, or sometimes some of the people in the group are going off on Jeff, or Jeff will give suggestions. And I mean, there's no real like coaching really going on. He's just telling you what to do, and then he'll like go off, and you can even see them gain and lose weight too. Like she's overweight, then he's skinny, and then she's skinny, and then he's a little overweight. So you can kind of see like how the relationship changes over the time. But they'll talk about their sex life, they'll talk about spiritual stuff, they'll talk about anything really. I mean, sometimes they give good suggestions, sometimes they don't. It's like they're just in their early 20s. I mean, it's not to say you can't be smart at that age, but some of the stuff they said is just, or one time Jeff did a fake ceremony of saying, you guys are now married because I just said you are. Like probably the biggest thing that I noticed too was people will say who the twin flame is, and then they keep changing who it is.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if Jeff is necessarily doing that, but I feel like, I don't know, it's like a revolving door of like, I thought you said this person a twin flame, but maybe they thought it was more like a mother figure, and then they get with someone that that had a sex change, and they get with them. It's like, wait, who's your twin flame? Like,
That is the end of part 1 on the Twin Flames mini-series. To find out more about International Cult Awareness Month, you can follow the links in the episode description. To get in touch with me, you can find me at cultvaultpodcast@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at cultvaultpod. I'm your speaker Casey, host of the Cult Vault podcast.